Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. It's the podcast where we have digital discussions, the worlds of pop culture, social media, sports, video games, TV, film, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On Twitter, I go as PD Beats. My guest this afternoon, you will know him as Nicky Katsopolis from Full House and Fuller House as well. And he is also a audio engineer and a Twitch streamer. We're with Tuomy Wilhoit. Blake, welcome to Popternative.
Hey guys, and thanks for having me, Pete. I haven't really done a podcast before, so this is kind of exciting for me.
This is your first podcast.
Yeah, this is my first podcast.
That's awesome. No, well, we're happy to have you. I mean, you know what? I brought it up. It's a huge part of your life playing a child actor at Full House. But what I talked to you before we started airing is I think that there's a lot of other things I wanted to talk about as well post Full House life. But so to get through the Full House questions, I mean, it was a big part of your life. But do you kind of look back and realize how big that show was and how popular it was?
Yeah, I do look back sometimes. I didn't really fathom it when I was younger. It was just kind of something I did. I wasn't in school yet, so my mom would just be like, okay, we got to get ready. We got to go to the studio. And it was kind of like school for me. I'd go to preschool and then I would go to the stage. And we couldn't be on set for very long because of like child labor laws and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So we just go in for our scenes and we'd be there for how many hours it took and then we'd leave. So it was kind of just something we did every day. And growing up, when I was younger, I had a lot more attention, obviously, because people could recognize who I was. But it was just kind of my everyday life and what would go on. I didn't think anything different of it. So it wasn't until I started getting older and telling my friends about it or meeting people that I started to realize, like, wow, this is actually a very popular show. And I've even had people like send me fan mail when I was a teenager saying like, oh, this show saved my life. I used to have this really crappy situation and this family, Full House family, became my family and it made me want to live still. Like it made people really want to be alive and positive and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's a very wholesome show. And like, I didn't know it impacted people the way that it did. And it feels very rewarding to be a part of that, even though I was like one of the more tertiary characters. I'm still very proud to be a part of that show.
Absolutely. And getting to work with your brother, who, for people that follow you on social media, you and your brother are pretty close.
Yeah, we're very close. We're best friends for sure.
And it's pretty cool that both of you were able to be part of that together. Yeah.
So we had that similar experience that we could kind of talk about together, and it's pretty cool. It's I don't know how it'd be otherwise. I've always had a twin. I've always been on a TV show when I was a kid, so I don't have any comparison really. But I feel like from other people's input, it seems like a pretty cool thing to grow up with. Yeah.
So a lot of '90s kids grew up on a lot of things like Full House, but some movies as well. Like a lot of sports fans watch our show, so like the Mighty Ducks movies, were a big part of the '90s. Yeah. And we had some of the actors from Mighty Ducks on the show. Like we had Matt Doherty who played Averman, and when I asked him the question about being a child actor, I think it's a little bit different from your perspective because you and your brother were very, very little, you know what I mean? And there might like you said, you went to set and then you came home. But he was saying it was really tough, especially with school and everything, being kind of that child actor that's kind of in middle school and everything. Do you kind of look back and maybe if you guys were a little bit older, it would have been a bit harder?
That's possible, because I do know that a lot of child actors, they have to go through school, like homeschooling, or they have a tutor on set and they spend a lot more time there. I'm really thankful that I went to public school and kind of had like the quote unquote normal kind of education and lifestyle.
Yep.
I feel like I made a lot of friends that maybe I wouldn't have made if I was just on set all the time. And yeah, it sounds really hard, very difficult. So I can see where he's coming from for sure.
Post kind of Full House, post kind of acting, a lot of people might not know this about you, but you were a firefighter at one point, correct?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
first of all, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, of course. So my view on that, every firefighter, they love their job. So when you say thank you to them, it's kind of like, it's like telling someone thank you for eating cake. You know, it's like, there's like, I don't know, I love it. So, I mean, I appreciate your appreciation, but yeah, I'm here because I really like this. So it's a very rewarding job as well. I was doing it in the metro Atlanta area, which is very far away from all of my friends and family. And I did it for about 4 years and just kind of got lonely and came back. And the certification to be a firefighter in Georgia, they use something called Pro Board, and California doesn't accept Pro Board. So my certifications and stuff kind of just didn't exist over here. So I was like, okay, well, either I can go back into it and start learning some more, or I can like get into the family business and start doing some audio engineer kind of work. And so I went that route.
That's awesome that you brought that up because that was my next question about the auto engineering. So I did not know that it was a family business.
Yeah, my grandfather did music editing and stuff.
Wow.
And so, I mean, he was in the business for quite a while. He did some contract work too, a lot of like building and contracting, but audio was his main job and focus. And then my uncle got into it. My father got into it. I have two cousins on there. If you like Google me, you can find them, Lisa Wilhoit and Kimberly Wilhoit. One of them does voiceover and dubs. The other one does like dialogue editing. My brother's a Foley artist, and then I'm getting into Foley mixing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just kind of just been going down the line. It's definitely about who you know, I think, because it lets you get that easy in where you can start learning and being on standby, and if you really like it, you can definitely do it.
Putting aside the whole family business thing, what do you kind of like about the sound engineering industry? What's kind of your favorite thing about that?
So in high school, I did some live audio and lighting stuff for our stage, like our production, and we had like the arts grant, so we got all this new gear and lights and stuff, and we got to play around with it, and it was really cool. And I've always just loved that production side of things. Like I do like the performance side as well, but I'm really drawn to production. I love that's why I like Twitch streaming.
Yep.
I also work audio for some live stream companies and stuff because I'm a gamer, so that's why I'm attracted to that as well. But stuff like just looking at microphones and stuff and learning all that and getting into it and how does this tick, because there's so much to it.
Oh yeah.
I fell in love with it, and then even when I was doing firefighting, I was still I was helping out with some churches around the area and stuff with their lighting and sound, and I just couldn't get away from it. So when I came back and I started looking at Foley, which I don't know, do you know what Foley is exactly? It's kind of like it's like a performance based thing,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's that video that circled on Facebook and stuff, where they make sound effects like out of organic materials for movies and stuff like that. So I wasn't so much into that part, but the recording, editing, and like spotting stuff like that.
I have a sister doing her PhD in culture intermediaries here in Carleton University in Ottawa, and her interest is looking at hip hop music and how it kind of allowed like the kind of the link between like hip hop music and underprivileged children and kind of helping them with their tough times and their tough environment and kind of giving them music as a way of expression. And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people in her department study a lot of the stuff you were talking about. like the performance, like the Foley, like
Mm-hmm.
so she knows all about that stuff as well.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's why when you said Foley, I don't know like everything about it. Like I'm not an expert, but I kind of definitely
Oh yeah.
knew what it was about. I find it funny too, a little thing that because you said about the sound, you showed the mic. I mean, for the viewers, our viewers won't kind of see this, but when you kind of logged on before we started recording, you were taking
Mm-hmm.
like you were like, hold on, I gotta get the sound proper, and like you kind of took it really seriously.
Yeah,
So
I do. Yeah, make sure my audio is all set and everything. I can hear everything. You can hear me well, and it's going through all the proper channels because I have like filters and stuff. But
No,
yeah,
absolutely. Now, Twitch streaming is just like it's insane. It's huge. I have a buddy who is a big Fortnite streamer. And like he tries his best to get as many streams and subscribers as possible, but there just kind of seems to be there's so many streamers, you know what I mean? What do you kind of think about the streaming industry right now, and how can you stand out? Is it possible to stand out and kind of get like explode and get all these followers? Like what do you think about the industry right now?
I think it's definitely a very saturated industry. Who wouldn't want to play video games for a living, or just do what they want to do? I mean, Twitch has ASMR. They have you could even read stories if you want to. But I think the only way to really stand out right away is to be kind of unique yourself. There's a streamer that recently became popular. She has Tourette's, and she became popular because people love to hear her tics while she's gaming and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like some niche thing that kind of happened. She has a great like personality and stuff as well. That's the kind of stuff that just shows up. And I think that characters are really popular as well. Like Dr. Disrespect, if you look him up, um, there's a lot of people wear masks or pretend to be somebody that they're not. And I think
Like
that those
cosplay
really
almost?
stand out. Yeah, almost. But they can even be themselves with their own face, but they're kind of acting a little more, outrageous, I guess.
So
Being a
like
character.
creating their own character while they're streaming.
Yeah. And people love entertainment, characters entertain, so that's exactly what people are going to watch, and that's what's going to stand out.
Do you
If
have
you're
a
just gaming
character?
and normal, I don't have a character. I thought about it. I thought about trying to do something like that, but I think I haven't been streaming for about 6 months. I think
Wow.
I want to get back into it, but I think it's just going to be just myself hanging out, and I don't really want like so many followers and stuff. I have a job and like stuff I want to do other than stream.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like my hobby. Like, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we almost had two firsts, but unfortunately we're cut short. So this is your first podcast, and I'd like to say that you were my first Twitch streamer, but no, unfortunately, I've had Trevor May, who I don't know if you know who that is. He's a Minnesota Twins. He's a baseball player, a pitcher in the Minnesota Twins organization, and he streams a lot of Overwatch and Fortnite, and got pretty popular on his streams because he ended up playing with Ninja a few times. So
Oh, nice.
he came on and was just talking about the industry, and it just blew my mind because this industry is just insane, and the kind of things he was telling me about what some streamers are up to, it's wild.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's getting a lot more attention, and gaming is as well. And I think that's why they can. I don't know. It's becoming more competitive, and people are looking for more things to do, and they're influencers basically like YouTube, and they'll show up to events and all that stuff. It's kind of wild.
Have you noticed that? And I'm a perfect example of that with my sister and I have an account for our dog on Instagram, and he has 160,000 followers. Basically, like if you look at someone's social media platforms all across their Facebook, their Twitter, their Instagram, right? By a landslide, they have more followers on Instagram compared to every other platform. Have you ever noticed that at all?
Yeah, I know Twitter used to be the number one kind of interaction, and Instagram it has pictures, and I feel like people engage with media a lot more strongly than words. So
Absolutely. I just think like the whole I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but there's a huge term, second screen consumption, which is something that, you know, you'd be watching a movie, playing a video game, and someone has their phone with them. Someone has their Instagram. They take it out for a photo. They take it out for a live stream. I mean, you're always going to have your phone. And I feel like Instagram, because of that, like what you said, that image aspect of it is going to be the one that they're going to use the most.
right. Yeah. Because images are basically symbols, and symbols represent so many things like immediately, whereas words you have to read through them. So I feel like scrolling through an Instagram feed, you're going to consume so much more content so much more quickly than a Twitter feed.
No, absolutely. Yeah. We started the interview about Full House, and there's one other Full House question I wanted to ask, and it's kind of just a generic one. But were there any like standout memories from the set that you kind of cherish the most, like whether it was an interaction with the cast members or, you know, a really cool story about a rap party or rap event, anything like that, Blake?
Yeah, there's a few memories that stick out. I know that there was the Disney World episode, and I remember we went to some party after filming. I'm pretty sure we weren't filming, and there was a band there and stuff, and like Jafar, some guy dressed as Jafar came, and I was mortified and I wanted to leave.
Oh,
I remember
wow.
that. I was
Oh,
like,
no.
it was a creepy Jafar. I was like, oh my god, he's real. I gotta leave.
Oh, no.
And I definitely remember that. It was a very cool party. I remember lights and stuff, and people drink adult stuff. Like I was just a kid, but I do remember very vividly the entire scene of the bed episode where they got us 2 car beds.
Yeah.
And my brother and I kind of, you know, our parents fell asleep, and then we walked out to their bed and fell asleep together. And I think that's the only memory that I have of actually like knowing that I was acting and like seeing the cameras and trying not to look at it and like acting and just doing what I was told to do, kind of. Whereas everything else, I just remember being there, and I don't remember that I was acting. I was just being a kid, I think.
But you guys had opportunities because there was that, you know, reunion on Fuller House, which is on Netflix, and you guys had a few episodes of that. And I think, was that kind of just like all the memories coming back, or an opportunity to learn about memories? Because you're seeing cast members like, what was it, like how many years down the road, like a lot, like what was 15, 20 years almost?
Yeah, it was like 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years later, and they're like, oh, do you remember?
No, more than that.
No, it was
20 something.
Yeah,
20 something.
Man, you're just trying to.
Wow.
We're old. We're getting old, eh, Blake? I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that was an opportunity to kind of reminisce as well, right?
It was very surreal, because we were actually, I don't know if it was the first season or the second season, that we were actually on the same exact stage that Full House was originally filmed on. Fuller House was being filmed on the same Warner Brothers lot kind of stage, and yeah, it was kind of surreal. Like all the dressing rooms and everything were all in the same places, and it was pretty cool. Like I remember when we first walked on set, we were looking around like we didn't know how to get inside, and it was just like we were walking, and then Bob Saget was walking over there, and we walked over. And my brother was like, "Hey, Bob," and he was like looking at us. He's like, "Who are you guys?" He's like, "Wait, no way, no freaking way."
Well, I think we'll wrap up. But Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I thank you for coming and talking about all the different things that are going on, because there is a lot of things going on. You have a lot of different interests, and we're able to not just talk about Fuller House. You know what I mean? We could talk about everything. So thank you for coming on the show, and that's awesome. This is your first podcast, man.
Yeah, it was fun, and I look forward to doing more in the future with whoever. I like to be a part of like content and media, and I like to share. So
no, absolutely. Where could people follow you on social media and on Twitch? Like where can they follow you?
On Twitch and on Instagram. Instagram is my biggest one that I update most. that would be Zerowbe. So that's ZEROWBE. And my Twitter is at BlakeTW. So I might be trying to change that to Zerowbe too. I'm not sure how to do that, but
Okay.
or change everything to BlakeTW might be easier.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, seriously, thanks for coming on the show, and I do wish you all the best.
All right, you too, man.
No, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for the video episodes. Audio only could be listened to on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. And until next time, this is Blake Tuomy Wilhoit and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.